Good afternoon and welcome to Utica College. I'm Todd Hutton, president of Utica College, and I'd like to welcome the distinguished members of our business community, our faculty, staff, and students to this event. I'd like to recognize and give special welcome to our elected officials, State Senator Joe Griffo, Assemblywoman Miranda Stito, Assemblyman Bill McGee, Assemblywoman Claudia Tennant, United County Executive Tony Vicente, United County Administrator James Wallace, United County Legislator Peter Caruso, Utica Mayor David Rufero, Borough Mayor Jim Brown, U.S. Representative Richard Hanna could not be with us today, but I'm pleased to welcome Sarah Gorman, Director of Community Outreach, who is here in his behalf. Sarah. And of course, we're absolutely thrilled to have New York State's Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy here with us today. Finally, I'd like to recognize Rob Simpson, President of Center State CEO. Rob. Steve DeMille, President of Mohawk Valley Edge. For our students who are in the audience, EDGE, or Economic Development Growth Enterprises, is responsible for promoting the Mohawk Valley's considerable assets to prospective businesses and site developers. And they do a great job of reminding those of us who live here that this area has a lot to offer. Steve, I'd like to invite you to the stage to say a few words, if you may.
Well, thank you, Todd. And Lieutenant Governor, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we look forward to working with you and Governor Cuomo, and we welcome the opportunity for you to come back here often, a lot more times here to share with us things that are happening in Albany, but also more importantly to work with us on some of the projects and initiatives that are vital to this particular region. I think that says it all. New York State is at the crossroads here, and after years of overtaxing and overspending, we are at the fiscal brink here, and we cannot continue to go down the same path that we have for so many years before. So now is the time really to get our fiscal house in order and really pave the way for a bright future for this particular state. I think the governor's budget proposal recognizes the choices that must be made. On average, state spending has grown 5.7% over the past decade. That is higher than tax collections, that's higher than growth of personal income, and it also exceeds the average rate of inflation for the past decade here. That's not a sustainable formula for managing an economy or a budget here in the state. Not only have we spent too much, but we're not necessarily getting everything we bargained for in terms of returns on our investment. This state has been a big spender on education, and that's important. We do spend more than any other state in the country, but we don't always get the results that we need to see in order to be competitive in the global economy. We're number 34 in terms of results in education. We're number 1 in spending on health care, but we are number 21 in terms of all the metrics for measuring results. High taxes, unsustainable rates of spending, a burdensome regulatory climate, unfunded mandates, high energy costs, those are killers to economic development in New York State. They have driven jobs out of the state, and it's time to change the paradigm if we're going to build an economy here that should be a magnet for attracting investment, keeping our kids in the state, and attracting the types of jobs that are going to build a 21st century economy. The governor's budget does provide a strong dose of fiscal sanity and does set the stage for transforming our state around new values and fiscal reality. First of all, the governor's budget proposal closes the entire state's current year deficit without any taxes or new taxes. I wish we were zero tax money. Without any new taxes or borrowing to close the shortfalls. I think the governor deserves a lot of credit for trying to close the fiscal gap in 1 year. The governor also has recognized that we can't let formulas run without any type of reality check. So the governor basically has not gone based on formulas which are not sustainable, and he's proposing legislation which will hopefully provide some new reality in terms of how we fund some of our entitlement spending in the out years. The governor has also cut the general fund state operations budget by 10%. The governor has looked at workforce reductions. He's also given the workforce an opportunity to come up with ways to shrink personnel costs and drive down the cost of operations in state government. This budget is a tough proposal. It has a lot of choices that have to be made, closing some facilities, and also this budget also has proposed cuts of about 3% in Medicaid spending and in education. Now, reductions in spending is a necessary requirement here, but it's not the only recipe for changing the culture of Albany. There's also recognition that we have to redesign government and make it efficient as we move forward. So the governor has basically looked at not only redesigning Medicaid and reducing local mandates. The governor has proposed a stage commission, spending and government efficiency commission, with the goal of reducing state agencies and consolidating various commissions with a target of 20% reduction. I think those of us, particularly the people I work with in local government and also the business sector here, would welcome the opportunity to talk about areas where they could see some efficiencies in state agencies. The governor has also introduced competition in terms of some of the educational programs to boost performance. One of these competitive programs will reward schools that make advances in student performance. The other will reward schools who achieve management efficiencies, and the governor's budget does earmark $250 million for each of those initiatives. And finally, the governor is using the budget to redesign state economic development structure and has proposed a series of regional councils, which will be chaired by the lieutenant governor, and that's good to be our partner in economic development. And these councils basically will be a collection of people from the localities, so local government officials, state officials from the various agencies, private sector, universities, and labor, to really act as a single voice for promoting and building off the assets that exist within the regions here. And we look forward to working with you, Lieutenant Governor, and helping to fulfill some of our initiatives which will boost this economy. So all of this will be a very challenging year. But I think it's something that does set the stage, and if we do things correctly, we'll have the opportunity where we'll see businesses who want to invest, people who choose to stay here, our colleges, which are one of our top assets, will be graduating students that choose to live in New York State and not be exported elsewhere.
That's the beginning of tough message. Today, the Lieutenant Governor was going to talk about something that those of us in higher education know all too well. We must change our way of doing business if we are going to thrive and survive. And we cannot simply point to the other guy and say, fix it. We all need to be part of the solution, and that includes every sector of higher education and every sector of our society. Putting New York's fiscal house in order will affect us all, and we cannot shirk from our collective responsibility in making that happen. In short, we must all share in the pain. Governor Cuomo has proposed bold steps in as he says, returning fiscal sanity to our state. Bold steps are exactly what are needed if we are to restore New York State to the economic, cultural, and political powerhouse it once was, to become the empire state once again. The health of our college, our city, and the Mohawk Valley depends upon government reform at the state, regional, and local level. Let me give you some examples of what we can expect. Governor Cuomo is proposing to redesign our state government, and those redesigns are likely to be uncomfortable for some people. Governor Cuomo is proposing to restructure the way we pursue economic development. That restructuring also will be uncomfortable for some. Governor Cuomo is proposing budget cuts in areas that have not seen cuts in decades. Those cuts will be downright painful for most of us. The key is for all of us to recognize that we have statewide problems that require statewide solutions. Utica College is 4 months away from adopting a new 10-year strategic plan. And like all strategic plans, this one focuses on Utica College of the future and steps that we will need to take right now to ensure our long-term health and stability. That's potentially a bitter pill to swallow, because it may require us to make short-term sacrifices for the greater and longer-term good. We need those same types of sacrifices from the people of New York State. Make no mistake, we need to protect the most vulnerable members of our society and provide them with the social, educational, and health care safety net. But the sacred cows of yesterday can be no more. I applaud Governor Cuomo for his courageous stand. He is daring to do what few statesmen have done before him, and in doing so, he is taking political risks. But I'm optimistic that the people of the state of New York will recognize the need for strong leadership at this important juncture in our history. Let's not pit ourselves against each other in a zero-sum game that will eventually make losers of us all. Instead, let's work with each other to find solutions that we can all live with for many years to come. That way, we can all be winners in the end. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our Lieutenant Governor, Bob Duffy.
My first time on campus. I've been in Utica many times. I ran a Boilermaker a few times a few years ago. But it's just to be here, it's a great opportunity and great that I was invited to a beautiful room. I want to thank Steve for his comments, opening comments. Usually I mention all elected officials to our distinguished mayors, our county executive, our members of the Assembly and the Senate. I won't go through all the names again. I appreciate very much them being here. And also, the family can't hold. I just want to extend our condolences on behalf of Governor Cuomo to the whole family. It's tragic what happened. And I just want to extend our sympathy and condolences. I know the service going on here as we speak for Mr. Hubble. I'd like to also recognize one person, the football coach at Utica College. Is a young man I've known since he was probably 10 years old. So Coach Fagiano, I've had the pleasure of serving with his dad back in Rochester. Utica College got a great football coach, and he's a quality man. He's a quality man his whole life, and so he speaks so well to this campus. What I'd like to, if I could, I have a slideshow which I'll get into, maybe just to prepare and give you a little overview. I was not planning on taking this position. So my second term as mayor of the city of Rochester. I'm a lifelong upstater. Certainly, my level of frustrations over the years in terms of government and how things happen. But when I spoke with Governor Cuomo last May, Lieutenant Attorney General Cuomo, my first inclination was that it was not something I would want to do and maybe would not work out well for me at the start of my second term. And the governor spoke about what he wanted to do about the state. And we spoke for probably 45 minutes to an hour. And I went home and telling my wife that my life had changed because I decided that I was going to do this. And for one reason, I was not looking for a position, but to work with somebody, to serve with somebody who you believe in. And I believe Governor Cuomo. I do. I say that without any hesitation. I believe what he's trying to accomplish. And one thing that I found is what he says behind the scenes, what he said all throughout the campaign, and what he says publicly are all the same. It's all aligned. And we're in a state right now with New York that it's no time for politics as usual. It's no time to be weak. It's no time to lack the courage and convictions to make decisions because there's no easy way out. This mess did not happen overnight. This happened over a collection of many, many years. A lot of very, very bad decisions. And one thing that I know from the city of Rochester, that the median household income in that city is about $28,000 to $29,000 per year per household. that Mr. and Mrs. Smith and those households can't afford. They're trying to pay for food and gas for their cars and school for their kids and clothes and mortgage payments and everything else. They can't afford one more dollar put on their back. That is pressuring them for costs that we just cannot keep up. And we now have a governor who has said right from the start, enough's enough, that we have to make some very, very tough decisions. And we have to make them. We have the courage to stand by them. And it is our hope that everybody across the state understands how tough these decisions are, because when Governor Cuomo ran for this office, when he came in, his goal was not to come in and cut. His goal was not to come in and cut programs. His goal was not to come in and make decisions that cost people jobs. We are at a crossroads in this state. And part of what I'm doing here today, and part of what the governor's doing, he's a officer on Long Island, we're making our way around the state and take a message out and say, this is what we're dealing with. These are the facts. And one thing I can say about the budget, I'll go over this in the numbers. When you look at how these budgets have been put together over the years, the laws that have structured in 13+% accelerators to that budget, and nothing goes up by 13%. Not our pay, not Social Security, nothing. Not our investments. It is to me, a situation that insiders knew about. But this governor put a light on a very, very dark room of budgeting and all. He put that light on, and it's very similar to what he did as Attorney General. I sat in Rochester, the University of Rochester, about 2 years ago, when then Attorney General Cuomo went through a presentation on health insurance rates, and had a whole schematic in terms of how these rates, how they all segue in to a very, very small number of decision makers nationally, and how a very small number of people make decisions on those insurance rates, which cost people, and often cost people amounts of money which are very hard to sustain. And when I looked at that particular investigation and this depiction, to me it was a scam. And that's exactly how I felt myself that day. I thought it was a brilliant execution of what was going on and really helping to educate people. Well, this budget process is the same. This is a process where the governor is hoping to educate the taxpayers of this state to let me know what is going on, why we are where we are, and why we need to make some tough decisions right now. But we make those tough decisions. If we have the ability to get together, because we have members of both parties here, I'm going to be very clear. This is not the result of decisions made by Democrats, or just Republicans, or anybody else.